Hi everyone, thanks for joining today. Today's session is to all about, we're going to talk about the Azure identity governance, privacy and compliance features. This is part of the Azure fundamental preparation exam. This is the fifth part. We are going to cover the fifth part today, and you are going to see lots of features which we already familiar, and we are going to talk about the identity part, how it is important, and then from there how we are driving to um, authorization, rollback access control, and then what are the governance policies we need to implement, what kind of privacy policy and complaints need to be addressed. All of those things we are going to discuss today. So as I mentioned, today we will be discussing authentication and authorization, Azure Active Directory, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, conditional access, cloud adoption framework, Azure role-based access control, resource logs, Azure policy and complaints. I think most of you already familiar authentication and authorization, which I don't need that much details to explain here. But in simple term, authentication is mainly to establish the identity of the person. Like if the person is coming up with his identity, we're just validating. For example, either application or the organization you're part of it, you will have a Azure Active, normal Windows Active Directory as your identity provider. Whenever new employee joined, someone will create a account for you. So at the time of resource onboarding, they will say you are the new person. They'll create account for you, and there will be a password. This will be enabled. Then they will ask you to reset the password. Once you created the identity in identity servers, either in this example we're talking about on-premises Active Directory. If you are using some other system, or for example Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook, wherever you go and register yourself, you provide your information, and then you creating your identity as a user ID and password or other elements like where you're coming from, what kind of some places they'll ask your government ID as a additional information to register. So authentication is to all about, once you register to any identity provider, you will be given a set of user credential that we are going to authenticate. So whenever you come to the system, you enter your user ID and password. Once that is successful, you are authenticated user. If the password is wrong, someone is using your user ID to enter, then they are unauthorized user. So that will be blocked. So individual person information we are validating, that is authentication. Authorization is once you get authenticated from the identity provider, you are moving into application. So once you get into application, you will have a set of functionality. For example, if you're working in an application, record management system or a document management system, you will have a set of functionality. Only you can view the documents. That is your permission they have configured. You can upload a document, but you can't create another user in that application. So that will be like a contribute permission, and then the other one will be like a complete access of owner access. You can go and do anything, like you can upload document, you can delete document, you can invite another users to the application. So you have a set of different permission level. That permission, based on the permission level, you can do whatever the relevant access level you wanted to perform. In this example authorization, where we are seeing like a list of applications, resources. So when it comes to Azure, Azure is all about the list of resources. Those resources, how we are managing. So once you authenticated, you are getting into access to list of resources. Which resource you have access to, whether you are the right person to access those resources. So managing those is authorization. So in a typical organization, even if we can take the example of Azure, some company has a Azure subscription, and they have created the list of resources. They cannot give access to everyone on every resources. So they have to create some sort of permission level so that you can only access the application, not the underlying infrastructure. You may need access to only the virtual machines, if you are a virtual machines administrator. If you are a network administrator, you only need access to network level, where you will be managing the infrastructure of the network, but you don't need access to the application or databases. So managing those demands is it's all about the authorization. So the next topic is MFA. What is MFA and what is Azure MFA? So MFA is something like you already have a user ID and password. That is your single authentication. Like you have a single credential. You are saying this is my user ID and this is my password. And in the typical world, lots of cyber attacks we are seeing. If someone keeps a user ID, like if I know your user ID, I can just try to enter some random password, I will be able to get in. But what is happening, like if you keep some simple password, anyone can easily attack your account. To prevent that, the multi-factor authentications are invented, and it is currently playing a bigger role in the industry. Multi-factor authentication is all about you have a single authentication already used in password. Top of that, you need to provide additional information to validate your identity. It could be like if you are already using bank related thing, like you have a token given to you. Whenever you enter USD and password, top of that you are also additionally entering the token. The token is generated from either from your mobile, or it may be generated from the devices they're given to you. So that device is assigned to you, so only you can enter that particular tokens. So that is additional factor. So that is why this multi-factor authentication come to a picture, where to prevent users from the data breach or securing their resources. So if you are using any online applications, it's strongly recommended to use MFA for all of your need. The Azure MFA, it's same functionality. Like MFA is the general functionality. It can be used in any kind of technology, but Azure has Azure Authentic, like Azure Active Directory already comes with the MFA functionality as out of the box. As a administrator, we can go and set up that for any user. And the same thing also can be used in the Office 365 services, which is subset of the Azure Active Directory is underlying directory service for Office 365 as well. So either Azure Active Directory or Azure Resources or Office 365, if you wanted to manage your users' credential, MFA it's already available in Azure. You can go and enable that. Quickly, we will see all of these demos. So the next topic is all about conditional access. What is conditional access? We talk about authentication, authorization, then we talk about MFA. Now conditional access. That is sometime it is easy to understand from conditional access. Okay, there is a condition, based on that I need to allow my user. If the user is coming from company provided laptop, then allow him to access my application. That is one kind of condition. If the user is trying to access my application, they need to sign these terms of condition. If they sign the terms of condition, then allow them to access. That is another condition. If the user is coming from this particular IP net range, allow them, because like if you have a Office 365 scenario, it's another SaaS solution, but it is publicly available. Anyone can access from anywhere. But if you want to prevent that access to only for your company network, your company network egress point will be available. You identify that egress point IP and configure that in the Azure Active Directory as a conditional access, and say if the user is coming from this IP range, they are allowed to access my application. So that is another condition you are setting up. So conditional access is all about you are signaling. Based on that, you are taking a decision, and then you are enforcing the controls. So that is the conditional access. I will show you the settings, how the settings look like, what are the configurations available. So the next topic, cloud adoption framework. This is a framework created by Microsoft. This is the most important one for anyone who is trying to onboard a Azure. Um, it's all about, if you wanted to get into a adoption of new technology, you need to know what you are doing and how you are going to manage that, how we are going to recycle it, how we are going to govern it. All the informations are covered in this framework. So typically, before getting into Azure, you need to understand and you need to have the strategy. Okay, what is my objective? By moving into Azure cloud, what are the benefits I'm going to get? So you have to create a business outcomes and justification to move into cloud. It's not that every company can move into cloud on their own. They need to have some plan. Okay, currently I'm spending 1 million for infrastructure, but moving into cloud, how much I'm going to save it? They need to have that some sort of a business justification and high level planning. By moving into cloud, this percentage I'm going to save it. Not only the percentage of cost, I'm also going to get benefit from the modern technologies where I can easily get it whenever I need. Because in on-premises, any technology you need to implement, you need to have a set of SLAs. But in the cloud, everything is in your hand. You can create anytime whenever you want. Then you need to have the planning. When you're planning for a cloud transformation, you need to have a set of skills readily available, right? So it is not just you can onboard. Maybe your supplier will be helping, or you may need to get your internal resource ready, like you hire a new skill set people or train your existing people, your existing support team you need to train. So all those planning also need to be considered. Then once your plan is ready, then you are moving into cloud. Before moving into cloud, then you need to have a set of planning, like how a user will get into Azure. What is the Azure setup configuration? How when they logged into that, what kind of landing zone they will be getting? What kind of subscription I'm going to have? What kind of virtual network I'm going to have? All this are your planning. That's also part of this ready phase. Then the adoption is pretty much once you set up your Azure subscriptions for your organization, then you are planning your migration, innovation. Migration could be like you have multiple way of handling this. You can just lift and shift. If you have a two-tier architecture in on-premises, you can just lift and shift as same as virtual machine to virtual machine. Then later you can change it to virtual machine to Azure App Services or Azure SQL Server PaaS services to reduce the cost. That is your innovation. Then typically in all the phases, you need to have some sort of a best practices, governance policies and compliance policies. This is all about cloud adoption framework. This is just a high level you need to understand for the Azure fundamental exam. Then the next topic is all about the role-based access control. We already discussed, right? So role-based access control means if someone has a role, the role has a set of permission. Based on that, they can get access to the resources. So the Azure has a multiple, this table will help you to understand. Um, when we are planning Azure, we normally create a management group. Within the each company will have one sort of management group. Underneath, you can create. I need another group for my finance team, another group for HR team, another group for sales team. So you can split your subscription or management group for individual team level or one management group for individual subscription. So it is depend on company size. Then each subscription you can have a set of multiple or more than one resource group. Each resource group can have more than one resources. If you want to manage the permission, for example, if I'm granting permission to someone on the management group level as a owner permission, then they can pretty much manage everything. If I'm granting permission to management group owner, he will be able to access all of the subscription. But if I don't want the same person to access all of the subscription, then I need to remove the permission from management group, only grant access to the relevant subscription he need access to. So the same way, if I don't want people to manage all the resource group available in the subscription, I want to grant permission to a person, he can only manage the resource group, then I need to give access on the resource group level. This is the concept followed in Azure. It's called like a scope level permission. So each layer scope level, you can grant a set of permission. Based on the permission level, they will be able to perform the relevant activities. So I think the resource logs, tagging, Azure policies. All these three we can quickly go through the demo directly rather than going through the theory. That will be easy to follow and remember what we are actually doing here. Okay, so now I'm in the Azure group. Hope all are following, right? Is everyone following till now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So we are in the Azure portal now. So now we are getting into our Azure Active Directory. So Azure Active Directory is the directory for, this is the tenant level Active Directory. One Active Directory, I can have more than one subscription I can create. So in in this Active Directory, I named it as a one Conto. So it's my fictional company. So the one Conto company has Active Directory. If I want to add any users, I can go to the users and then add more than one users here. So whenever I try to add a user, I can create a user account and then I can grant them the role. So currently it's a user role. And if I want to grant something else, different permission, I can grant. For example, if I go to user, you can see the role. Azure itself by default defines lots of resources, and the roles, each roles has a set of permission management. If I need to give someone who can manage all my tenant, then the global administrator is, they can manage everything. But if I don't want them to manage everything, for example, in the scenario network, I think network, yeah. So network administrator, someone joining, Bob is joining in my company, I need to give them only network administrator. Then while onboarding, I can grant only this particular role so that he will have only access to the network related activities. So this is what previously we talked about, role based access control. And we also discussed the conditional access, right? So for example, conditional access or MFA. Let's talk about the MFA now. So on this Azure Active Directory user, and so I can enable MFA on individual user level or policy level. Let me. So here I have a list of application, and I mentioned about the conditional access, right? So conditional access is when I go into particular application. In this application, I want to give a permission based on the condition. Then you can go into conditional access on each application level, and then say, since I have a trial version, I don't have the premium AD, but I can show you some of the screenshots here. So one example is, in this example, I go to Azure Active Directory and then I go to conditional access. Within the conditional access, I need to enable them terms of use. So first I'm creating the terms of use. It could be a PDF document attaching to that. Once this is ready, then I go to my conditional access and say, this is the main settings. So I'm giving a name for my conditional access, and then I'm assigning the members. So in my company, I may have a 10,000 members. I don't need everyone to be part of this particular conditional access. Then I can select the group of people who need to be part of this. So that's why the option is given either individual user level or group level. Also, you can have exclusion group also in the settings. So you can also exclude some people from the assignment. So first we are naming the conditional access, then we are selecting the users who need to get this conditional access. Then I'm selecting the cloud app. In this case, the test app I'm selecting. So whenever users come, these kind of users comes to this particular application, they need to follow this condition. What is this condition? The condition is accept the terms of use. So here you can see I'm selecting all users, and then I'm saying like the condition I'm selecting, they need to accept the terms of use. If they accept the terms of use, then grant access. If they are not accepting, then they can't access it. Then finally, I'm enabling the policy. It is very simple. If you go here, every conditional access, you will have the same sort of things. Name of the conditional access, assignment group, cloud application, and condition. If you go into condition, you have a various conditions. Like as I previously mentioned, you will have to select. Just 1 minute. I'm trying. Okay, so here device level conditional access. When you select a condition, you can say, I want people to use this kind of platform. Like for example, only iOS users can access, not Android app users. Then you can select the device platform. Then you can select the location. As I mentioned, you can say location. If the user is coming from this particular IP range, they can access. Then the client apps. It could be like a mobile app, or it could be tablet app. If they're coming from this kind of client app, only they can access, or they should not access from the mobile app. They should access only from the desktop. Then you can select it. So this condition is giving you various options. These are gradually improving day by day, but as of now, I have implemented personally in lots of organization. They need a set of restrictions. While selecting this, you can also say, if the user is coming from set of network, then they need to have a MFA. So if they have, for example, in this example, I have all location, any location, and all the trusted location I'm excluding, which means my company network. Then I can say, if the user is coming from set of network and they are not a trusted network, then they need to enforce MFA. Because for example, all my company users, I'm trusting them, but anyone coming from outside of my company network, they need to enable, they need to enforce the MFA, and they need to authenticate via MFA. Because the hackers can come from other network which is not a trusted network. If they are trying to access your user ID and password, we can enforce the MFA. By doing that, they will be blocked. And recently, in one of the company I visited, they got attacked from somewhere from African country, and they're all their accounts from the internet they have taken. Like when you go into LinkedIn, you can find your email ID. They keep trying to attack your email ID and keep generating some password. So because we enable them the security controls and this conditional access, we are able to prevent them. So they have keep on seeing lots of accounts are attacked, and they are trying, the password keep on trying. So in the logs we can see so many people are trying something. Luckily we had that MFA configured, because like we got invited to help them, and we saw initially they have some problem with the account, someone trying to attack. Then immediately we enabled MFA. That was the first message we gave it to them, and they are able to save lots of money and lots of resources by doing that. So MFA, it is not just a simple thing. Whenever you try to log in, you will feel like extra step, but that is something can save you from bigger things. So we discussed the Azure role-based access control, and we talk about the conditional access. Then we'll move into logs, Azure resource logs. So today I'm going to create one resource group. First of all, what is logs? Logs are mainly used for, okay. Logs are pretty much used for from preventing from the accidental deletion. So you grant a permission to someone and they are creating lots of resources, and or you created and you gave them the permission for managing, but they have mistakenly deleted. How will you prevent that, or how will you restore it? So to prevent that accidental damage, you need to log the resources once you created. So now we are going to see some sample. Like I'm going to create a resource group. Guys, if you're not able to follow in any section, please stop me. The purpose of this call is whoever is joined in this call, then to get a benefit. It is not just I'm talking in the session. So wherever you wanted to get into a collaboration, stop me and ask me questions. And wherever you feel like you need to be clarified. So now I'm going to create one resource group, and I'm going to apply the lock, and then I'm going to try to delete the resource group. So the resource group should not be deleted because I applied on the lock. So now I'm going to create lock here. Just 20. Okay, and I'm going to create in region, which is pretty much, I think this one you can create anywhere. So review, create. So resource group created. Now I have the resource group created. Now I'm going to the resource group level. There is option in the left hand side. You can see lock below the settings section. When you click locks, and I'm going to add a new lock and say um, lock type. You can say lock is prevent the deletion or prevent the read only. Then I'm going to lock type is deletion and click OK. So I applied my lock option for this particular resource group. Then I'm going to the resource group. Then I'm trying to, okay, delete whenever you try to delete this resource group and you say your resource group name, delete it. So now you can see the resource group RG20F February underscore demo is locked and cannot be deleted. So by applying this lock, it's helping us to prevent the accidental damage or accidental deletion. This it's look like very simple, right? I applied it a lock and then I can prevent it, but it's not just this one scenario. Assuming like if I go back, I have another scenario. So this particular resource group, I have so many resources. It's a big application running, and someone is deleted particular network group or they deleted the disk. It can be a biggest impact for the application. Each application will have a set of need. If the business is getting a benefit, for example, Marks and Spencer retail application, during the Christmas time, it is used by millions of people. Suddenly, some network is deleted by someone. What will happen? They lose like millions of money because until this is recovered, they will have a loss. Nobody can access the application. So the lock is one of the governance control we need to think of it whenever we are trying to use this application.
Karthik, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Right, okay. So this resource group 20 Feb demo that you
Yeah.
created as yourself, right?
Yeah.
So because of the log that you've created, you can't delete it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you want to delete it, so you'll have to go and remove the log, then you can delete it.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. So it's not something like, I mean, so the admin only can delete it, I mean, that sort of thing.
So you can manage from the rollback access control. Like if you want, that is why we need to see these are like a tools. Tools are a set of tools available. You need to put together where we need to use it. So rollback access control, you can say I'm grant custom role. You can create it. Anyone can create any resources, but nobody can delete it. So you can apply from that rollback access control so that they
Okay.
can create it, but they cannot delete it. But if the administrator it has access to delete option, then before I delete it, I need to have some sort of like a control. So if I'm trying to do manually, right, I know when I
Yeah.
click the delete group, it is not automatically allowing me to click. I have to specifically, that is why Microsoft is very clever in this particular setting. Someone can make a mistake by clicking, okay, so if I come to this, I can click mistakenly. This can happen. But Microsoft cleverly implemented another checkbox here. You cannot simply click delete. You need to specify the resource group that you are trying to delete. This is additional control already they implemented. But what if I'm using a PowerShell? My user is using a PowerShell to admin. Like these days, everything is managed by infrastructure as a code. If they are trying to implement these controls or this deployment through infrastructure as code, they can make a mistake because when you are using a PowerShell, you don't have this kind of manual options, right? Like
Yeah.
specify the resource group name and click delete. So that is why the lock is coming into a picture. It is really a critical, and you can also apply the locks on a resource level. Like if I go to here, I have two virtual machines, networks, etc. We select one of the virtual machines. Here also I can say locks. So I can add a lock on the already the parent level we have applied, but if you don't have a parent level resource group level lock, then you can apply lock on the resource level also. So you can define what type of locks you want to apply.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and the next item, tagging. I think the tagging we already covered in some other sessions. So it's all about what is the tagging purpose, how we are going to get benefit. Um, so this session is going to end in 5 minutes. So I will cover this tagging within the 5 minutes, and then we will rejoin and we'll continue the remaining items. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So tagging, whenever you create a resource, you can apply a tagging on the resource level. For example, tags here. On this particular virtual machines, I'm trying to apply a tag, and what this tag will help me. So you can say by applying these tags, you have a various benefit like a resource groups. It's a list of resources are grouped by the tagging, or tagged resources level. You can manage the cost. So the cost also can be managed by the tagging, and then whenever you wanted to know the SLAs from the organization, like each it's more of like operational management, right? So tags enables you to group the resources. Once you grouped it, you can find out the critical availability, you can manage it. So it is more of like a logical grouping. I have a 10 subscription, and each I have hundreds of resource group, and each resource group I have a set of SQL servers. Then I want to know how many SQL servers I have. Whenever you create a SQL server virtual machine, you can apply a tag and say, this is a SQL server. Just a tagging your additional adding. So that tag will help me to figure out how many resources I have, what kind of cost I'm spending, and what kind of security level I need to apply for this. Whenever like we have been asked in various companies, like I want to know what are the resources I'm using, and each resources level, um, the security level, either it's a public or a confidential. So your application can manage, but the resources level you need to apply. If you have a tagging functionality, you can say this resource is public, this resource is confidential. So this is very small functionality, tag functionality, but it is used in effectively in various cases. And you can also find out through DevOps, like if you wanted to apply some task, you can look for a tagging. Okay, all the tags assigned to ABC, collect everything, and then switch off. Then you can use tagging. So tagging is used for various scenarios. It is very small functionality, but it is helping in various cases. So I think this is the one tags you are at the time of creating you can apply, or after that also you can apply. Here you can say your application name, and then you can vary. For example, I'm adding a app name, so ABC, and then next one it could be like a cost center. I want to apply a cost center. Like you need to know whenever you are requesting application or resources, you need to know like which cost center is going to pay for these resources. So I think most of you familiar cost center, like in a typical organization, every department will have their own cost center. So whatever the money they are spending, it is tagged to the cost center. So they know on annual basis how much money they need to plan in for the next financial year. So I can say cost center ID, something like 001, and then company like 1. This is actually VM. So the department could be like HR department. So you can apply this kind of tags, and whenever you look for this, generally, like if I want to find ABC, I go to tag, and already those are, if I have millions of tags, then I can simply look for, then I can search by the tag. I can know what are the resources, because I have only two scenario here. If you have millions of resources, millions of tags, you need to have set up this so that you can find out the relevant informations. Okay, I think we can stop here and we'll regroup in a couple of minutes. Thank you, guys.